Okay, hello everybody. So we are eventually going to talk about wildcards in this video, but I am going to introduce it by starting with this. So let's say we have a method called print collection. We have a method called print collection, and basically the idea is that we want to loop over every element of the list passed in as a parameter and print it out. So we can use a for each loop for that. And we'll just print out each element. We need to make this static so it can be called from the main method. And we'll do print collection. Let's create a list. We can use arrays that as list as a shortcut for this, and we'll say item 1 and item 2. So if we pass in this list, then when we run this method, we should expect to have those printed out on 2 different lines, and you'll see that those items are printed out on 2 different lines. Now, the question that I want to answer in this video is, what if we wanted to make this method more generic? Meaning, what if we wanted to pass a list of anything into this method and print it out? How could we do that? Now, the common answer is often to just make a list of objects, right? That seems reasonable. So you can pass in a list of objects. Now, the IntelliJ has already sort of beaten me to the punch here because, well, so actually, let me go with this for a second. So let's imagine that we want to pass in a list here. So a list of objects works fine, but a list of strings, let's say we want. You'll see that here it throws a compiler error. So why does this happen? The reason for this is because list of string is not a subtype of list of object. Now, what is it? Why? Why? So imagine you have list of strings and you have a list of objects. Okay? Now let's say that you try to reassign list of strings to point to list of objects. Now, obviously, we got a compiler error here, but you'll see that if we kind of kept going with this, that we would add a list of we would add an objects to list of objects, which is fine. But now list of strings and list of objects point to the same thing. So if we do list strings.get 0, and then we try and assign this to a string, we're not guaranteed anymore that this is going to be a string, even though the type declaration is string. So that's the problem that we sort of run into. Obviously, the Java compiler catches it. You can see the error here, and it doesn't allow you to do that. So, but this is sort of the typical example to demonstrate why list of string is not a subtype of list of objects. And more generically, well, we can do this as Javadoc. More generically, if we have class foo and bar, where bar is a subclass of foo, we also have some interface G, then G bar is not a subtype of G foo. And so we've demonstrated that here. So now back to my original question, which is, how do we genericize this? If we want to be able to print a collection of anything, it should also be called print lists. Sorry about that. Collection has a very special meaning in Java, so it's very misleading to have a method called print collection and be passing in a list. So the answer to this question of how to genericize this, how to be able to pass in a list of anything here, is to use what's called a wildcard. And in Java, it's represented as a question mark. So now we should be able to pass in whatever we want here. And you'll see that now we will be able to pass in a list of strings. And if we run it, it will successfully print out the strings as well. And you can see right here that it printed them out successfully. So also take note here that even though we are passing in a list of wildcards here, or a list of unknowns, we can still assign each element, the object type, because we know in Java everything that comes out of this list must be of type object. So that was an introduction to wildcards in Java. I hope that was somewhat clear, and we'll continue with discussions of generics in a future video. All right, thank you. We'll see you soon.